So you've decided to build your very own dry curing chamber or your cheese cave, and you realize you need a humidifier. What humidifier do you buy? Well, you've come to the right place because in today's video, I'm going to share with you the top 4 things that you need to know before you make this purchase. And at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about the most commonly overlooked issue when it comes to humidifiers in either your cheese cave or your dry curing chamber. Welcome everyone to the Two Guys in a Cooler channel. Thanks for joining us. My name is Eric and I hope you're having a great day. Before we talk about the issue of humidification, take a moment, especially if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button and that notification bell. Because if you're into building your own dry curing cabinet, the content on this channel is going to make your journey a whole lot easier. Okay, let's talk about humidity control and humidifiers. And honestly, I cannot believe that this is the first time we're making a video about this, because humidity control is quite possibly one of the most important factors of producing high quality aged cheeses or properly dry cured meats, whether it's whole mussels like culatello, prosciutto, bresaola coppa, or salami. And the idea here is to create an environment, whether it's in a modified refrigerator or a basement or a cellar, in which the humidity is at the perfect level so that your meats can dry nice and slow or your cheeses can age nice and slow without creating any problems. So picking the right humidifier is absolutely paramount to making sure all this happens properly. So let's get into the 4 things that you need to know before making this purchase, starting with number 1. What type of humidifier should you buy? And there's a lot of different types on the market. I mean, you've got cool mist, you've got warm mist, you've got ultrasonic, you've got diffusers and vaporizers, and it can get a little confusing. And so the thing that I want you to remember is that we don't want our humidifier to increase the temperature in whatever room you're dry curing meats or you're making cheeses, and we don't want a really wet environment. We want a humid environment. So picking a humidifier that doesn't produce a lot of heat and that produces a relatively drier level of humidity is kind of what we're after. And from what I found, the type of humidifier that works perfect in a dry curing chamber or a cheese cave is a cool mist ultrasonic humidifier. This produces humidity that's relatively dry to the touch, but it also doesn't increase the temperature inside your chamber. There are lots of different options when it comes to ultrasonic cool mist humidifiers, which brings us to point number 2 as we try to narrow down the search a little bit. How does your humidifier power on and off? This is quite possibly one of the more important things that you got to remember, because if you get this wrong, the humidifier that you buy may not work inside your chamber. And that's because under normal circumstances, a humidity controller is used to manage the humidity inside your chamber. This is one from Inkbird that we use, affordable, reliable, and here into these outlets we plug in the humidifier and the dehumidifier. We program the controller to the appropriate humidity that we want, and through the course of the day, it's going to cycle power between the humidifier and the dehumidifier, basically cutting them on and off as it tries to maintain that humidity level that we've preset. Now what that means is that your humidifier has got to automatically be able to power back on when power is restored. Now, not all humidifiers do that, and what I've found is that humidifiers with digital displays don't always power back on when power is restored. So in order to turn those back on, let's say if your lights go out or if power is cut to it, you have to manually press the on button, and those types of humidifiers just aren't going to work for our application. And so what we're looking for is one that'll just turn automatically on once power is restored. Let me show you the one I have. This one is controlled by a knob. That's how you turn it on and off. And I've noticed that most humidifiers with the knob function will automatically turn on once power is restored. So I'll turn it on now and plug it in. As soon as I unplug it, it powers off. As soon as I plug it back in, it powers back on. And that's exactly what we're looking for, because our controller is going to cycle power all day long, and you don't want to have to go in there and manually turn it on every single time. It's just not going to work. And now let's talk about number 3. What size of a humidifier should you buy? This is one of the most frequently asked questions that I get when it comes to humidifiers. And the answer really just depends on what kind of chamber you're going to be working with. If you're going to be in a commercial fridge, a beverage fridge, generally you have a lot of room to play with. And so you can go for that extra large 6-liter humidifier. You don't have to fill it up nearly as often, and it's going to humidify the space beautifully. But if you're working in something smaller like a mini fridge or a wine fridge, then that space becomes very valuable. And that humidifier is going to take up some of that valuable space. So you might want to consider something like a 2-liter humidifier or even a 4-liter humidifier. All right, so when it comes to the size for the humidifier, calculate your space. How much room do you want to give up inside your chamber for your humidifier and or your dehumidifier if you're going to be using that? And based off of that information, you could choose what size humidifier works best for you. Now, there is a completely different option when it comes to humidifiers, and that's actually putting your humidifier on the outside of your chamber and then piping it into your chamber. Now, I've never used this method, but from what I'm hearing, it's about a 50-50. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people have ruined their chambers by drilling holes into the side and busting those gas lines. So if you are going to try the external humidifier because you don't have a lot of space, just be aware of where you're drilling so that you don't hit any of those gas lines. And be sure to let me know how you like it in the comment section below. And that brings us to the fourth and final thing that you need to know about humidifiers inside a dry curing chamber, and that is how easy is it to clean. Now, most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about this, but you got to remember that the water inside that humidifier, depending on how big it is going to sit in there for 2, sometimes 3 weeks. And over that time, algae is going to grow, mold is going to grow, and if you don't clean your humidifier regularly, that kind of stuff can get released into your chamber, and you definitely don't want that unknown mold, harmful mold, growing on your meats and cheeses. So the cleanability of your humidifier, in my opinion, is incredibly important. So let me show you the one that I use. All right, so here's one of the humidifiers that we use. This is a 6-liter capacity, basically a gallon and a half. It's relatively large, so we use this one in our commercial fridge when we want to dry cure meats. We also have one that is 4 liters, and I'll show you that one here in a minute. And that's going to be a more average, but it's the same exact style. And so let me just go ahead and remove this so that we could look at how easy it is to clean. Now, most of the basins for a Cool Mist ultrasonic humidifier are going to look like this. And as far as this goes, all you've got to do is wipe it down with a little vinegar water mix and you're good to go. This cleans off really easy. But cleaning inside the basin can be tricky. Over time, buildup will start to form on the walls and it does need to be cleaned out. And what I like about this particular unit is the size opening that it has. I mean, I could take a soapy sponge, get in there, clean the walls really easy, not that big of a deal. And also because it has a flat bottom, I could just set it under my kitchen faucet and then let it fill up without physically having to be there and holding it the entire time. And so a lot of cool features with this particular model. All right, so if you happen to buy a humidifier that doesn't have an enormous opening like this on the bottom, let's say the opening on your humidifier is 2 inches, which could be pretty difficult to get a sponge in there. No worries, and the easy way to clean that is to fill your basin halfway up with warm soapy water, close it off, and then agitate the basin. That's going to help break off any of the buildup on the inside of the walls, rinse it out several times, and then what I like to do is make a 50-50 vinegar water solution, fill up my basin halfway again, and continue to agitate it, and by that time, the inside should be properly cleaned, and then you can go ahead and use it in your chamber. So those are the top 4 things that I think you should be aware of before you buy a humidifier for your dry curing chamber or your cheese cave. All right, so if you're still with me, I'd like to say thank you because now we're going to talk about the single most important issue when it comes to using a humidifier inside your chamber, and it really doesn't matter if you're making cheese or any kind of dry cured meats, and the issue comes down to humidity flow direction. Now, every humidifier is going to have a little valve here on the top that can be adjusted. It can also be removed and cleaned. Now, this valve is going to control the direction that your humidity comes out. Some super fancy humidifiers have multiple directional valves. You can have it going to the left and going to the right. And what I've learned over the years of making dry cured meat and cheeses is that the directional flow that the humidity exits the humidifier is incredibly important. So if you were to point the directional flow towards your meat and the humidity as it leaves the humidifier is in essence hitting a portion of your meat, you're basically creating a zone that's constantly going to have 100% humidity. And that's going to affect the mold growth, the bacterial growth. Obviously, it's going to affect the rate that your whole muscles or your salami dries. Now, while everything in your chamber is drying evenly, that area is going to be soft, it's going to be wet, it's in essence constantly being rehydrated as humidity is just blasting that meat. So when you go to give it a little squeeze, it's going to feel as if the day you put it in. It's going to feel very raw, very mushy. Now you can easily fix that by adjusting the directional flow so that when the humidity exits the humidifier, it's hitting either the sidewall or the back wall. You really don't want that humidity to make direct contact with your product. All right, so let me show you inside my chamber how I have mine set up. There's probably a ton of different ways that you could do it. This, in my opinion, is kind of like the best practice. It's going to give you the least amount of problems right off the bat. Let me show you. Okay, let's take a peek inside the chamber and notice that it's relatively empty. Usually around this time of year, I try to run it completely empty so that I can do an inspection, a deep clean, and see what's going on. I did notice here at the top that we have some unwanted molds that I definitely want to get out of there. So I'm going to have to remove that back panel and clean that up really good and put it all back together. Okay, so that's for a later video. Let's go ahead and back to the issue at hand. This is the 4-liter version of the humidifier that I showed you earlier. Same exact model, just a little bit smaller. We could put about a gallon of water in here. That normally lasts about 2 weeks. I've got it on the floorboard all the way to the right. Now, all the way to the right or all the way to the left, it's really irrelevant. What's relevant is the placement of that directional valve. Notice that the humidity direction is pointing towards this wall. So when the humidity exits, it's going to be hitting this wall right here. It's not going to be affecting any of the meat that I have hanging. Another acceptable place would be to point it towards the back wall, but often I tend to load my chamber down and I'll have product on this back end and I'll even have product on this front end. So for me, the absolute best place to put it is to have it point towards this wall, and that simply means that this area right here in my chamber won't have any product hanging in it. It'll be all the way around it. And so that's pretty important. The last thing I want to mention is the velocity that you have your humidity set to. It's not always the best idea to keep it on max, just like it's not always the best idea to keep it on minimum. And so this is something you're going to have to play with. It really comes down to the size of your chamber and how much product you have in there. But I find that keeping it at about 75% power is absolutely perfect. And if you watched any of our salami making videos or, whole muscle drying videos, you see the end product. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. So I typically keep mine at about 75%. And I would suggest that's probably a great place to start, but feel free to adjust it based off of your end results. If you find that your salami or your whole muscles are drying a little too fast, you can always crank it up a little bit. That's going to help dry a little bit slower, reduce that dry ring, and you'd be surprised how much of an influence this little knob has on the success or failure of your finished product. All right, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you've got any questions about this topic, drop them in the comment section below. And don't forget to check out the description box because I'm going to link the 2 humidifiers that I use in the event that you want more information. But I'll also try to link, 3 or 4 other brands, styles, and price points for humidifiers that I know will work for this application. So if you got any questions about those, comment section as always. If you like this video, a great big thumbs up is always appreciated. And that's all I got for you. Thanks a lot for being here. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.